Did you know most cars don't die of old age? They die of bad habits. Over 70% of major repairs could have been prevented. And the worst part? Most drivers never see it coming until it's too late. But the real pros? They're driving the same car past 300,000, 400,000, even 500,000 miles, without a single engine or transmission failure. Today we're exposing 12 habits mechanics don't want you to know. The same habits that keep fleet vehicles, delivery vans, and work trucks running strong long after others hit the junkyard. These aren't your average change your oil tips. We're talking stealth killers, secret maintenance intervals, and simple habits that save you thousands if you catch them early. Stick around to the end because habit number 2 is something almost no one checks, and skipping it can quietly wreck your electrical system without a single warning light. If you're serious about beating the system and making your car outlive your neighbors by decades, this is where it starts. Let's start the list with habit 12. Replace rubber before it wrecks everything. Belts, hoses, bushings, all the flexible stuff under your hood might seem like background players, but let one of them fail at the wrong moment, and you'll find yourself stranded with a 4-figure repair bill from a $30 part. Here's what makes rubber so sneaky. It almost never fails when you're watching it. Hoses can look perfect on the outside and still be dry rotting from within. Belts don't always crack anymore. Modern EPDM belts wear out like tires do, slowly losing their grip without any visual warning. And if you're waiting for a squeal or leak to show up, that's already too late. Mechanics see the aftermath constantly. A $20 coolant hose bursts on the freeway, dumps all your coolant in seconds, and before you even notice the temperature needle, your aluminum cylinder head is warped beyond repair. That's a $3,000 mistake caused by something that should have been swapped at your last service. Same goes for serpentine belts. If yours wears down or snaps, you don't just lose power steering. You could overheat your engine, drain your battery, and toast your water pump in one ugly chain reaction. And if we're talking timing belts, a single snap can turn your interference engine into a grenade. Pistons hit valves, and boom, now you're pricing out a full rebuild. The pros don't play guessing games here. Fleet mechanics replace hoses and belts on schedule, whether they look fine or not. Most rubber components are done by 60,000 miles or 5 years, whichever comes first. And when in doubt, they check tension, flexibility, and even smell. A sweet whiff of coolant or the rubbery stench of a slipping belt. That's go time. So if your goal is to cross 300,000 or 500,000 miles without a catastrophic failure, don't ignore the quiet killers. Rubber doesn't just wear out. It betrays you when the pressure's high and the road's long. Swap it early, swap it cheap, and never let a $30 hose become the reason you need a tow truck. Now, for habit 11, flush your brake fluid every 3 years, no matter what. Brake fluid is one of those things people never think about until the pedal goes soft or the ABS light comes on at the worst possible time. But what you might not know is that ignoring this one fluid could cost you your entire braking system. Here's the deal. Brake fluid is hygroscopic. That means it absorbs moisture from the air, even through sealed systems and rubber hoses. After just a few years, that fluid can contain 3 to 4% water. And that's where the problems begin. First, that moisture kills your stopping power. Water in your brake lines lowers the boiling point of the fluid dramatically. Under heavy braking, like going downhill, towing, or even slamming the brakes in traffic, that water can vaporize into steam. And steam, it compresses. So instead of a firm pedal, you get a spongy mess that goes straight to the floor. But it gets worse. That moisture doesn't just turn into vapor, it corrodes everything it touches. Caliper pistons, steel brake lines, ABS pumps, master cylinders, all slowly rusting from the inside out. You won't see it until it's too late, but when your ABS fails or a brake line ruptures, you'll wish you had spent the $100 on a flush. Mechanics working on neglected cars find this all the time. Seized calipers, rusty bleeder valves, gummed up ABS modules, all because nobody flushed the fluid. And once those components fail, you're not just paying for a fluid change. You're looking at $800 for an ABS module, another $500 for new calipers, and who knows how much in labor if they need to crack open the lines. Now compare that to the fleets and careful owners who flush their fluid every 2 to 3 years. No excuses. They don't just have better braking performance, their brake systems stay clean, tight, and reliable for hundreds of thousands of miles. It's not just about stopping, it's about protecting one of the most safety-critical and expensive bike systems in your car. So, don't let brake fluid turn into brown sludge. Flush it every 3 years. It's not optional if you're planning to outlast everyone else on the road. Coming in with habit 10, be gentle on a cold engine, especially in winter. This is one of the biggest mistakes drivers make, and almost no one realizes it's happening until it's too late. You start the car in the morning, the engine fires up, and within seconds you're backing out, hitting the gas, maybe even flooring it onto the main road. But here's the problem. Your engine isn't ready for that yet, not even close. When an engine is cold, the oil is thick like molasses. It hasn't circulated to all the critical components. The camshafts, bearings, valve train, turbocharger, if you have one. For the first 30 to 60 seconds, your engine is running on nothing but residual oil film. That's when 70 to 80% of long-term engine wear occurs, right at startup, especially if you push it hard before the oil warms up. And it's not just the oil. Cold engines have wider tolerances. Pistons are smaller, rings don't seal properly, and raw fuel from cold start enrichment is washing down the cylinder walls, stripping away lubrication. Every time you rev high before warm-up, you're creating microscopic scoring inside your engine, the kind that turns into oil consumption or compression loss down the line. Turbocharged engines? Even worse. When you spool a cold turbo, you're forcing thick oil into tiny passages that aren't flowing properly yet. Over time, that oil bakes into carbon, clogs the bearings, and seizes the turbo. A $2,000 repair from nothing more than impatience. The fix is free. Just wait. Let the engine idle for 30 seconds, then keep it below 2,000 RPM for the first 5 to 10 minutes of your drive, especially in freezing weather. Don't floor it. Don't tow anything. Don't redline it just because traffic's moving fast. That gentle warm-up period lets the oil circulate, lets the metal expand, and lets your engine settle into its groove before taking on real work. Fleet vehicles in cold regions follow this to the letter. That's why they're still going strong at 400,000 or 500,000 miles, while the average commuter's engine is falling apart before 150,000. Remember, horsepower means nothing if the engine's already tearing itself apart from the inside. Patience during cold starts is one of the most valuable habits you'll ever build, and it costs you nothing. Let's keep rolling with habit 9. Change your PCV valve before it wrecks your engine. This tiny $5 part is one of the most underappreciated and most dangerous cowl components in your entire engine. It's called the positive crankcase ventilation valve, or PCV valve for short. It's about the size of your thumb, doesn't require tools to check in most cars, and yet if it fails, it can take down your engine from the inside out. Here's how it works. As your engine runs, small amounts of combustion gases leak past the piston rings. That's normal. But if those gases build up inside the crankcase, they carry fuel vapors, moisture, and corrosive acids, the kind that slowly turns your engine oil into sludge. The PCV valve is a one-way door that opens just enough to suck those gases out and send them back into the intake to be burned off. But when that valve sticks closed, the pressure builds inside the crankcase until something gives. Gaskets blow, seals leak, oil starts seeping from places it never should. And if it sticks open, you've got a different problem. It starts pulling too much oil vapor into the intake. That fouls your spark plugs, wrecks your fuel-air mixture, clogs your catalytic converter, and burns oil like crazy. You might not notice it for months, until you suddenly find yourself topping off a quart every week and wondering where it's going. This isn't theory. GM's Ecotec 2.4-liter engines are notorious for blowing out rear main seals because of clogged PCV valves. BMW's N-Series engines, same issue. Too much crankcase vacuum, oil pulled into the intake, and a string of catastrophic failures. Even Subaru and Toyota list PCV inspections in their standard maintenance schedules, and for good reason. So here's what smart owners do. Every 30,000 miles, they pull the valve, shake it, and listen. If it rattles freely, it's probably still good. If it's gummed up, sticky, or silent, replace it. Most cost under $20 and take 5 minutes to swap. No scan tool, no special tools, no excuses. Think of it like this. You change your engine oil to keep it clean. But if you don't vent the crankcase pressure properly, that oil turns into acid and sludge anyway. That's why this little part has a massive impact. If you want your engine to hit 500,000 miles, don't let a $5 valve be your weak link. Check it, replace it, and keep your internals breathing clean. Now let's get into habit 8. Fix small leaks and weird noises immediately. Not later, not someday, immediately. If your car's whispering to you, with a drip, a whine, or a faint clunk, that's not background noise. That's a warning. And ignoring it, that's how $5 problems become $5,000 disasters. Let's start with leaks. A tiny coolant drip from your radiator cap might not seem like a big deal until you realize that low pressure drops your boiling point by 20 degrees. That means your cooling system could start steaming inside the head, creating hot spots and micro cracks that slowly warp your cylinder head. That's a $3,000 repair triggered by a $10 part. Or take a slow oil leak. Maybe you lose a half quart every few thousand miles. Who cares, right? Wrong. That little loss adds up. Bearings start running hotter. The crankcase pressure shifts. And one day, your gentle tapping turns into a rod knock. And now you're pricing out a rebuild. Even vacuum leaks, those small tears and rubber hoses or cracked PCV lines, mess with your air-fuel ratios and can cause misfires that slowly melt your catalytic converter from the inside out. That's $2,000 in damage caused by a hose you could have replaced for under $10. And then there are the noises. A faint chirp on startup could mean your serpentine belt is slipping, or your tensioner is on the way out. A clicking sound when you turn the wheel might be an early CV joint failure. A soft thump over bumps, that could be a ball joint getting ready to snap. And if it fails while you're driving, you don't need me to tell you how ugly that can get. The point is, early symptoms are gifts. They give you a window to act while the fix is cheap and easy. And once you learn to listen for them, to feel when something's just a little off, you'll catch problems before they grow teeth. Fleet technicians jump on small leaks and noises immediately because they know the math. A $40 gasket now is better than a $1,500 head job later. A $12 hose today keeps you from replacing an $800 catalytic converter tomorrow. Want your car to last longer than your neighbor's 3 leases? Build this habit. Hear it, see it, smell it, fix it, fast. Next up is habit 7. Change your differential and transfer case fluid every 50,000 miles. No excuses. This is one of the most ignored maintenance items on the planet, and yet, when it's skipped, it can quietly grind your drivetrain into dust. Let's break it down. Your differential, and if you have AWD or 4WD, your transfer case. They're full of metal gears, spinning at high speed under massive pressure. What keeps those gears alive? Thick, high-viscosity gear oil. But over time, that oil breaks down. It gets contaminated with metal particles, moisture, and heat. And once it loses its protective properties, it stops cushioning anything. The early signs of worn-out gear oil are subtle. A faint hum at highway speeds. A slight vibration on turns. Most people ignore it. But what's really happening is your ring and pinion gears are starting to pit. Your bearings are losing their shield. Eventually, the whole assembly starts howling, grinding, and, if you push it, failing completely. The repair? A rebuilt differential can cost you over $1,000. A transfer case? Even more, especially in modern SUVs with complex electronics inside. Now, here's the part that stings. A fluid change costs maybe $30 if you do it yourself, maybe $150 at a shop. And it's not even hard, just drain, refill, and drive. Fleet trucks, off-road rigs, and commercial vans that hit 400,000 miles or more, they don't wait for failure. They change diff and transfer case fluid like clockwork, every 50,000 to 60,000 miles. They know that fresh fluid is the cheapest insurance you can buy against catastrophic drivetrain damage. And if you're thinking, well, I don't tow or off-road, so I'm probably fine. Think again. Even gentle daily driving puts stress on those gears. And with today's synthetic gear oils and tighter tolerances, clean fluid matters more than ever. If you want your vehicle to stay smooth, quiet, and strong deep into the 6-figure mileage club, take care of the stuff underneath, even if you never see it. Because when your rear end still runs like new at 400,000 miles, you'll know exactly why. Let's move on to habit 6. Don't drive on fumes. Refuel before you hit a quarter tank. You might think it's no big deal. The fuel light comes on, you shrug, and squeeze out one more trip, maybe two. But what you're really doing is shortening the life of your fuel pump every single time you run near empty. Modern electric fuel pumps aren't just little motors. They're precision parts cooled and lubricated by the fuel itself. That's right, gasoline isn't just fuel. It's the coolant for the pump. When you're low on gas, the pump isn't fully submerged anymore. It starts sucking air, overheating, and spinning harder just to move what little fuel it has left. Over time, that extra heat and friction wears down the bearings, hardens the seals, and eventually leads to a slow, quiet death. You won't feel it at first. Maybe it takes an extra second to start. Maybe you get a little hesitation under load. But one day, probably when you're running late, you'll turn the key and hear nothing. And that's not the end of it. Running low on fuel also stirs up all the gunk that settles at the bottom of your tank. Rust, sediment, even water. That debris gets sucked into your fuel filter, clogs your injectors, and stresses the entire delivery system. You might get misfires, loss of power, or injector damage you'll be chasing for weeks. All because you pushed one too many miles past E. The fix: simple. Make it a habit to fill up when you hit a quarter tank. Don't treat your gas light like a challenge. Treat it like a warning. Every time you keep that tank at a healthy level, you're protecting a system that costs hundreds to repair, and keeping your engine supplied with clean, cool, uninterrupted fuel. This is one of those habits fleet mechanics swear by. Delivery vans that see 300,000 miles, they never let their drivers run low, not because they're paranoid, but because they've paid the price for ignoring it. So if your goal is long-term reliability, do what the pros do. Top off early, not desperately. Your fuel pump and your wallet will thank you for it. Now, for habit 5, treat your power steering fluid like engine oil. Change it. Don't trust lifetime. Pop quiz: when's the last time you changed your power steering fluid? If you answered never, you're not alone. Most drivers have no idea that this fluid breaks down just like engine oil does. The difference? When your power steering fluid fails, you don't just lose smooth turning. You could be looking at a $600 to $800 steering rack replacement, or worse. Power steering fluid is hydraulic oil. It moves under pressure, gets hot, and collects wear particles from the pump and rack. Over time, it oxidizes. It turns dark, gritty, and loses its ability to lubricate. That's when the real damage starts. Old fluid chews up seals, scorches pump bearings, and causes valves inside the steering rack to stick. You'll feel it as stiffness when parking, groaning noises at full lock, or even jerky steering at low speeds. Left unchecked, it becomes a slow-motion failure that ruins the entire system from the inside out. And here's the kicker. Most manuals call it lifetime fluid, but mechanics will tell you, lifetime just means until it fails. And by then, it's too late. Smart owners and fleet techs flush their power steering fluid every 30,000 to 50,000 miles. They treat it like part of the oil system because it is. The process is quick, the fluid is cheap, and the payoff is huge. A smooth, silent steering system that lasts well beyond what the factory ever expected. It's the difference between spending $100 on prevention or $800 plus downtime when the pump finally gives out in traffic. Want that buttery steering feel to last until your odometer reads 400,000? Change the fluid. Use the right spec, not ATF, unless your manual calls for it. And don't wait for the whine to tell you it's overdue. It's not about how often you turn the wheel. It's about how long you want to keep doing it without paying for new parts. Now, for habit 4, stick to tire rotation and alignment like it's a religion. You can spend all the money in the world on engine maintenance, but if your tires are wearing unevenly, your suspension's out of whack, and your fuel economy is tanking, guess what? Your car is quietly falling apart underneath you. Here's the truth. Tires are the foundation of everything. They connect you to the road, they stabilize your suspension, and they protect your steering components from taking a beating. But if you don't rotate them regularly, and if your alignment is even slightly off, you're not just shortening your tire life. You're adding stress to wheel bearings, tie rods, ball joints, and control arms. And it doesn't take much. Just 0.1 degrees of incorrect toe or camber will make your tires scrub sideways across the pavement. That weird feathered wear pattern you see, that's your tread being sanded away, and your suspension silently absorbing the damage. Front tires, especially on front-wheel drive cars, wear nearly twice as fast as the rears. That's why rotations matter. Done every oil change, or at least every 5,000 to 7,000 miles, you get even wear, better grip, and more predictable handling. But alignment, that's the long game. Once a year, check it. After any suspension work, check it. Hit a curb or pothole, definitely check it. A proper alignment doesn't just keep your tires alive. It keeps your steering tight, your car tracking straight, and your fuel economy optimized. Because even slight resistance from misaligned tires can cost you 3 to 5% in MPG. Over 100,000 miles, that adds up fast. Fleet vehicles and high-mileage taxis never skip this step. Not because they're trying to baby their cars, but because they've done the math. Rotations and alignment save thousands over the life of the vehicle. So if you're serious about getting your car to 300,000 or 500,000 miles, don't just think about the engine. Think about the contact patches, those 4 little rectangles of rubber doing 100% of the work. Rotate them, align them, and let them protect everything else they support. Let's get into habit 3. Take your car on a weekly highway run. Seriously. It might sound silly at first, but if you're only using your car for short trips, like coffee runs, school drop-offs, or your 10-minute city commute, you're quietly setting it up for an early death. Here's why. Short trips never let your engine reach full operating temperature. That means the oil doesn't get hot enough to burn off moisture and fuel vapors. So every time you shut the engine down cold, those contaminants stay behind, collecting in your crankcase, clinging to metal surfaces, and turning your oil into a slow-cooking chemical soup. Even worse, unburned fuel from cold starts can seep past the piston rings and dilute the oil. That kills its lubricating power, especially around the bearings and valve train. It's like running your engine on watered-down protection. Your PCV system also suffers. Blow-by gases filled with fuel and acids condense inside the cold engine, forming sticky sludge that clogs up hoses, valves, and oil separators. Subaru techs have pulled PCV hoses completely packed with goo, just because the car was used for short, cold-weather trips. So, how do you fix it? Simple. Once a week, take your car on a solid 20 to 30-minute highway drive. Get it up to 60 or 70 miles per hour, and let the engine heat soak. That's long enough for the oil to fully warm up, for moisture to evaporate, and for any fuel dilution to burn off properly. Fleet operators and oil analysis pros swear by this. The cars that get weekly highway miles consistently show cleaner oil, better compression, and fewer top-end issues, even if the rest of their driving is short hops. It doesn't cost you anything. No tools, no shop visits. Just pick a day, take the scenic route, and give your engine the workout it needs to stay clean from the inside out. If you want 300,000 miles or more from your engine, don't let it idle itself to death. Run it. Let it breathe, and let it clean itself, the way it was built to. Now, for habit 2, be kind to your transmission. It's more fragile than you think. Your transmission might be tough on paper, but in reality, it's one of the most sensitive, failure-prone systems in your entire vehicle. And most of the damage, it doesn't come from faulty parts. It comes from how you drive. One of the worst things you can do is shift between reverse and drive while the car is still moving. You might be in a rush, doing a quick parking maneuver, but that little clunk you feel, that's your transmission's internal clutches slamming into place under load. It's like throwing a bike into reverse while it's still rolling forward. Something's going to snap eventually. Now add in another common mistake, skipping the parking brake. When you park on a hill without using the brake, all that weight, sometimes thousands of pounds, is resting on a little metal nub called the parking pawl inside your transmission. Over time, that stress can crack the housing, jam the gear set, or cause the car to roll if it ever slips. A $2 part causes a $2,000 failure, all because someone didn't pull a lever. Then there's towing. You might think your vehicle can handle it, but if you're pulling more than it's rated for, or even just hauling up hills on hot days, your transmission fluid can spike past 250 degrees, and for every 20 degrees over 175, the fluid life is cut in half. Do it enough, and you'll be smelling burnt clutch packs long before you hit 100,000 miles. And yes, transmission fluid matters too. Just like engine oil, it breaks down with heat and time. Some manufacturers call it lifetime, but that's a marketing word, not a maintenance plan. Ask any shop that services high-mileage vehicles. Changing your ATF every 40,000 to 60,000 miles is one of the smartest things you can do for long-term reliability. Fleet vehicles that survive 300,000 miles or more, their drivers treat the transmission like it's made of glass, smooth shifts, no panic reverses, proper towing, fluid on schedule. Do the same, and you'll avoid the kind of slow internal wear that creeps up and turns into a $3,000 repair overnight. Want your transmission to last as long as your engine? Respect it, and it'll return the favor. Finally, habit 1. Defend your undercarriage from rust like your car's life depends on it. Because it does. When people think about car failure, they imagine the engine blowing up or the transmission giving out. But long before those major parts fail, there's something else silently eating your car alive, from the bottom up. It's rust. And once it starts, it doesn't stop. The real danger isn't surface rust on the body panels. It's what's happening underneath. Frame rails, brake lines, suspension mounts, fuel tank straps, all slowly getting chewed up by a mix of salt, moisture, and road grime. Especially if you live in a snow state or anywhere near the coast, where salty air and road treatments act like acid on bare steel. The science is simple. When water and salt mix, they form an electrolyte, basically a conductor that speeds up the corrosion process. All it takes is one tiny nick in the undercoating and rust starts spreading like a disease. You won't see it until something critical snaps or leaks. And by then, it's game over. Brake failure from rusted lines, a gas tank that drops because the straps corroded through, a control arm that shears off the frame. These are real, expensive, and often dangerous failures that start years before they become obvious. Even factory undercoating doesn't last forever. By year 4 or 5, it starts to chip and peel, exposing raw metal underneath. That's why smart drivers don't wait. They go on offense. Here's what works. After winter storms or salty road days, get a high-pressure undercarriage wash, especially in the wheel wells, suspension, and seams where gunk collects. Once or twice a year, apply an oil-based rust-proofing product. Not the rubberized stuff. Use something that creeps into cracks and displaces moisture. Commercial fleets, municipal vehicles, and off-roaders all use this trick. It doesn't just delay rust, it stops it in its tracks. Want your car to see 400,000 miles without the frame crumbling? Forget just changing the oil. Start protecting the steel it's built on. Because once the structure is compromised, no amount of engine care matters. Rust doesn't sleep, but if you stay ahead of it, your car might just outlive the road itself. So now you've got the blueprint. 15 habits that can push your car to 300,000, 400,000, even 500,000 miles without a single major failure. No magic, no gimmicks. Just the kind of disciplined maintenance and smart habits that mechanics use but rarely talk about. The only question is, are you actually going to do them? Because the drivers who do, they're not buying new cars every few years. They're getting every mile, every dollar, and every bit of performance their machine can give. But if you're still hungry for more, and you want to take things to the next level, we've got something even spicier. Click now to watch our next video. 12 illegal mods that actually make your car run better, but you didn't hear it from us. We're talking about performance upgrades, fuel tricks, and drivetrain tweaks that blur the line between genius and outlaw. The kind of stuff they don't teach in driver's ed. You didn't hear it from us, but you're going to want to see this.